Hi, I'm Matt from Build That Website, and today I'm going to help you bust through that Elementor learning curve. We're going to start with the very basics, from the Elementor interface to basic widget controls. Next, we're going to move on to templates, which are the absolute best way to start building professional-looking designs quickly and with minimal experience. After that, we're going to get into an exercise where we recreate a built-in template from scratch using just Elementor widgets. We're going to learn the basic Elementor workflow, as well as things like spacing. Finally, we're going to touch on responsive design, and I'm going to show you how to make sure your designs look fantastic across the full range of screen sizes. Now, if you're interested in leveling up your Elementor game, make sure to click subscribe, because I have a whole bunch of tutorials coming out where I'm going to recreate the designs of popular websites using just Elementor. And even better, I'm going to share all the templates that we build in these tutorials for free that you can reuse in your own site to quickly build professional-looking websites really fast. So with that, let's get into the video. Installing Elementor is really easy. You can either use my direct link down in the video description, or you can go to the WordPress plugin repository. So we'll go to Plugins, Add New, Elementor, Install Now, and Activate. Now, Elementor can either be used on pages or posts, or any custom post type on your site, but we're just going to create a new page to start working with it. So we'll go to Add New under Pages. And we can name it. We could call it our home page for now. And you just click Edit with Elementor to start working on it. Now, the thing to understand about Elementor compared to, say, the Gutenberg editor like we have right here, is that Elementor is a front-end editor where you see everything as it will be on the front end of your site, whereas Gutenberg and the WordPress text editor are back-end editors, so it doesn't exactly mirror exactly what you're going to see on the front end. So that's the beauty of Elementor, is you really get to build things as they will be. So we'll click Edit with Elementor, and you'll be greeted with a blank layout like this. So the exact layout you will see depends on your theme and what the default page template is for your theme. So on my theme, you can see we have a content sidebar layout, and by default, that's what Elementor will show. But generally on pages, you might want a full width page, and you probably don't want your theme sidebar there. So let me show you first how to adjust the page template that Elementor uses. So down in the bottom left here, you have this settings cog, and under settings, you can choose the page layout. So right now it's set to the default, which is determined by my theme, but you can choose Elementor Canvas, which removes the header and footer, and basically it's just a completely blank page. And I typically don't use that one very often with the free version of Elementor, but you can also use the Elementor full width template. And now this will remove the sidebar, it keeps the header and footer, and this is the page layout that I work in most commonly. Now let's go over the basic Elementor interface. On the left side here, you have your control panel, and here you'll find your full selection of widgets. All your basic or most commonly widgets are at the top, followed by the Pro widgets, which you can just minimize if you're in the free version of Elementor. And then you have all the other free widgets that come with Elementor, the general widgets that you may use less often, like progress bar, testimonials, things like that. If you add any add-ons or extensions to Elementor, they may come with their own elements as well, which you'll find down here, and they'll generally be bundled by add-on down here. And if you end up with quite a lot of elements, maybe you'll have 160 widgets at some point, you can easily search for the one you're looking for. For example, you can just type star and grab your star rating widget and drag it right in here. You also have this hamburger menu on the left that lets you configure some default settings like global fonts, global colors, and some user preferences. You can also exit to the dashboard anytime you need to get back to your WordPress dashboard. We have the settings cog down here to let you define some basic things like the title, the status of the page, and the page layout like we already looked at. You have the Navigator, which as we're adding blocks to the page, will help you find the exact block or navigate in a bunch of blocks that are sort of tightly packed together. You have the version history, which will let you easily revert to any former version of the page. This is such an underused and really awesome feature of Elementor. You have the responsive editing view, where you can adjust the layout for tablet or mobile screens in addition to desktop. And you have the preview button. So that's it for the basic controls. Let's actually start looking at how we use Elementor to build a page. Now, to get back to your list of Elementor widgets is super easy. At any time, you just click this button, which takes you back to the widgets display. And we can start grabbing any widget we want and drag it into our layout. Now, before we start designing individual elements, it's important to understand the structure of elements in Elementor. And let me illustrate what I'm talking about just by dragging a heading into our layout here. And you can see we've added a heading, but if we click the Navigator button and look at the Navigator, we actually have 3 elements that have been added. We have a section, a column inside that section, and then the heading element itself. And this is important, is that any element actually is going to be inside a column and a section. Now you can add multiple elements inside a single column or section. So if we drag another heading here, it will go under the same column. Same with dragging an image, it will be under the same column. And this entire column is contained within this larger section. Now the column icon is indicated by this little icon here in the top left, and then the section tab is actually on the top of the section and is outlined in blue. And if we delete this image, it will be easier to see. So our section is in blue. And this gives you a lot of control in terms of the spacing and styling of your elements and to divide them into visual sections. And one of the nice things about sections that I'll show you in a second is that they can be full width, but keep your actual content contained. So a good way to think about it is a section outlined in blue is kind of like an entire row that contains a bunch of elements or columns. And inside that we have a column, and we can add another column. So we could just duplicate our column over here and have the same thing left and right. You can drag your columns to resize them. Just left click and drag. And within a column, we can also set the spacing between widgets, for example. By default, these 2 heading widgets are 20 pixels apart, but we could change this to say 60 pixels apart, which will change the spacing between the widgets really easily. And we'll talk a little bit more about spacing further in the video. So let me show you quickly how we would use sections, columns, and elements separately to create a layout. So I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to start from scratch. So we'll add a new section, and this section will contain 2 columns. And it inserts them right there for you. Now, if we click on the Edit Section button, and that's the little dots right here, we can, for example, set a minimum height. So let's make the minimum height 300 pixels. We'll go to the Style tab and set a background color. You can grab in a heading into this column and some text. And over here, we can grab an image. Now, by having these multiple layers, we get all kinds of controls that we wouldn't have otherwise. For example, if we want some extra spacing above and below these elements, we can add padding to our section here. So we can unlink these values and we can put, say, 50 pixels of padding on the top and bottom, creating more space around our element. Or we could link the values and put the padding all around the outside and have them all be 50 pixels. And then we can have our own padding or styles on the columns themselves. So for example, we could put a border on this column, say solid border, 2 pixels in width. So we can add a background in our column here, and we'll say, make it white, and go to the Advanced tab and add a bit more padding, say 25 pixels, to give it like a bit of a frame look. And if we preview it again, you can see that now we have our outer section container. This is our column wrapper, which has the border around it, and then the image widget within it. So this gives us a lot of control to build complex layouts. Now, it's also really easy to add or remove columns because you might not always pick the right number for your section and maybe you change your mind later. So we can interact with our columns by right-clicking on this column tab here, and you'll have the option to say add a new column and it will just insert it to the right. You can right-click and delete this one, or you can duplicate a column to quickly create, for example, if you create a complex layout and you want to repeat it 2 more times, you could just duplicate and duplicate. And of course, like I said, we have the version history here. So we can easily go back to this former state. And if we just click this refresh button, it will just take us back to right here. Could delete this one. And one important trick that's going to save you some time, and it won't force you to go into the context menu to delete or create new columns, is if we go to this hamburger menu and go to user preferences and choose to turn on the editing handles option here. And if we click update, you'll see now if you hover over this icon, we get some more options. You have the duplicate option here, you have the delete option here, and you have the plus option to add another column quickly. So that will save you a bit of time over the long run. Now, one of the things that you might run into with your theme, and you can see that it's happening here, is the outer width. Even though we have a full width layout that we've chosen in the settings, page layout, full width, is it's still constraining the outer edge of our sections. And a common design technique is to have your section colors be full width and then just the inner content be constrained. And to change this, you actually have to go to your theme. And depending on what theme you're doing, the exact process will be a little bit different. But basically for your Elementor page, you want to change the page template to be something like full width. So if we go back and we click Edit Page, so I'm using Generate Press as my theme, and you may have similar options in your theme as well. But you can see for this content container option, it has the default set. And my default settings actually have a contained container, or it's not a full width container. So if I change my container to full width and click Update and go back to preview the page, you can see that now my content is being constrained, but the full section is spreading the full width of the page. And that's the look I'm going for. That's what I want. Now, almost all of the most popular themes, I'm thinking Avada, Total, Newspaper, Cadence, Generate Press, Astra, Ocean WP, they're all built to be compatible with Elementor, so you will have this full width page option. And if you can't find it, just talk to your theme developer and they will point you in the right direction to choose this option for your page. If you're using a theme or framework like Genesis, you actually may need a third-party plugin to create this layout. There's one that I use called Genesis Dam Buster, which is completely free, but it lets you create page level tweaks to make it a full width page on a page-by-page basis. So that's just a good tip to keep in mind. Now, one of the most common things that people struggle with when just starting Elementor is how to build a good-looking design from scratch. And they tend to just sort of build as they go. They drag in some elements, and then they try to do a little bit of styling, but it sort of looks amateurish. So there's a couple good things you can do to build good layouts from the start. And the easiest and best one when you're first starting out is to use Elementor's template library, which allows you to import entire pre-built sections or even complete pre-built pages, and then just customize the text, the colors, and the images to fit your needs. So that's the number one best way, and it really speeds up the development process. And the second is to work from some sort of wireframe or even from an existing website whose style you'd like to emulate, and really pay attention to text spacing, white space, use of color, and things like that to really make a professional layout. And we are going to be doing a bunch of tutorials in the future about how to adapt styles of popular websites to build beautiful layouts in Elementor. But right now, let me show you how to use the template library. So let me just delete this entire section, and you can just click this folder button here, and this is how you import a template. And even the free version of Elementor has full feature templates that you can import. So if we go to the pages section here, and you can see that we have, for example, we can preview this, and this is an entire full page that's been professionally designed by Elementor. And you can just click the insert button to stick it into your site. So if this is the first time connecting, you're going to need to connect to the Elementor template library. And this does require an email address. You have to create an account, but it's still completely free. So we're going to click Get Started. If you don't have an Elementor account already, you can create one right here. I already have one, so I'm just going to sign in. And now we'll ask you to connect your site to the template library. You can choose to share data or not. I'm just going to uncheck this. And after a little bit of thinking, it will insert this template on your site. So this is a pretty basic template, and you will find that some of the more professionally designed ones are actually only available with the Pro version, but this is really a good starting point to work with to build a homepage. Now, if we just want to undo this, we can just click History, and we can just roll back to this previous version where we don't have a template inserted. You can also insert individual blocks. So for example, let me build an entire page with blocks here, and we're only going to use the free version of blocks. So let's go to Hero section for the top of your page. And we might want to insert, how about this one? Next up, we want a list of features. Some testimonials. And how about an FAQ? And if we just preview the changes, you can see that we have the basics of an entire web page right here, and I created it in just a minute. Now let me show you how easy it is to style this to make it fit your theme, and then we're going to go a little bit deeper into the individual widget-based controls that you have in Elementor. So for example, we could tweak the section background color here. We'll go to Style, and let's make it like a deep blue instead of that black. This section we could leave white, but for example, we might want to change this style color here to make it say purple to fit your theme colors. And we could change this background color to like a medium gray. And now you can see it's actually a little bit hard to read the testimonials here. So we could change the background color of each column in the section to white. So we'll go color white. And instead of having to do this individually for each of these columns, there's a great feature of Elementor where you can just copy and paste a style to other elements. So we can right click on the context menu, click copy, and then right click on the next column and go paste style, and right click and paste style. All right, so we've completely redesigned this section, and we can just preview it again and see how it looks. And obviously you would just continue changing the images and tweaking the colors and the text to make it fit your needs. But this is a good start in just a couple minutes. Now, what about rearranging elements? And this is where sections come in so handy, because if it was individual elements and you wanted to move everything, you'd have to like select them all and then drag and drop. But because they're inside an entire section, you could just move a section up or down. So for example, if we wanted to move this entire section below the custom reviews, it's that easy. And if your page is really long and you don't want to have to drag it all the way across the whole page, so for example, if we wanted to move the FAQ to the top of the page here, we can go into the Navigator view by clicking this icon, and you can just grab this section, and you can see when you click on it, it's highlighting it, so you know you've selected the right one, and we can just drag this all the way to the top. And now if we scroll up the page, you can see our FAQ is above our hero section. So that's a really easy way to reorder your content. And if you're designing for somebody else, or you're really building complex pages and you like to keep your content organized, you can double click and rename this section. So you could call it FAQ, so you know what it is every time you look at it. And we'll just drag it back down where it belongs at the bottom. So let's dive in a little bit deeper into individual widgets and the available controls and styles that you have. And I think a good way to do that is to just try to recreate one of these sections or one of these templates from scratch so you can get an idea of how to build layouts for yourself. So you might notice that the fonts have changed a little bit, and that's because I undid some global default settings in Elementor, and I'm going to show you why in a second and how to do this for yourself. But let's just start and see if we can build this layout for ourselves. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new section, and as you can see, we've got 2 columns. So we're going to create a 2-column layout. So we'll click the plus icon and click 2 columns. And I want to give myself a little bit of space to work with. So we're going to click the edit section button, and under the height options, we're just going to set a mid height, and 400 pixels is enough just to start working. So in this column on the left, we have a heading, a text block, and a button. And we can just go to our elements here, and you can drag in a heading. Now you can see that Elementor has made this heading blue by default, which doesn't really match anything else on my page. But you can see that the font itself does match the rest of the fonts. And where it's getting this exact font from is under site settings. And you can also see the global colors that we have here. It looks like this matches that primary color. And you have a couple options. You can either change your primary color to something that you would like your headings to be by default. So we can make it that nice dark gray, for example. Or, and this is what I prefer to do, is I like to let my theme handle the default colors. And to do that, we can go into the dashboard, and if you go to Elementor and settings, and then you can disable the default colors and default fonts of Elementor. And by doing this, this will cause Elementor to inherit your theme styles. So for whatever element that it's inserting, if it's inserting an H2 heading, whatever your theme defines as the colors and font for that heading, that's what Elementor will use as the default. And that's what I prefer to do to keep consistency across my site. So we'll click Save Changes and reload the page. And you can see all these fonts have changed. This one has not, however, but if we delete this and drag in a new heading, you can see that now it's inheriting the default colors and font of my website. Now, the controls you have in Elementor are a little bit different depending on the type of element or widget you're using. And if you're using a container element, like a section or a column, you're going to have slightly different settings than if you were using a widget like a heading. So if we look at our settings for our columns and rows, you can see we have the layout, style, and advanced tab. So under layout, you can control sort of the structure, such as the minimum and maximum height, the gap between the columns and the section, and things like where your content will align within the section. Under style, you get obvious stuff like background colors, overlays, borders, and shape dividers. So for example, we could go, let's jazz this up a little bit. We'll insert a gradient, and we're gonna go from, I don't know, this blue to this other blue, and you can change the direction of the gradient. And under the advanced tab, the most common options you'd be using are the margin, the padding, and maybe assigning CSS classes. So that's sort of the spacing is what you're gonna get out of here. So for example, if I want to add padding all the way around, we could add 100 pixels in every direction. If we go to the heading element itself, you can see the tabs are a little bit different. Instead, we have the content tab as the first tab. And this is where you enter the text of your heading. So we could write playground for creative people. And we can set our HTML tags. So if we want to match these styles, you could see the typography. This is set to 65 as the font size. So to match the style for this element, we would just click on this element. We've already changed the title. You can set the HTML title tag, whatever heading level you want it to be. You can change the alignment, justified, right, center, left. And then under style, we can go to typography. So here, if you wanted to change the font family, you could, but it's a good idea to limit the number of font families on a given page to keep your speed pretty good. You don't want to load too many external font resources, but we can change the font size to 65 pixels, just like it is down here. And also, I think we probably need to change the weight a little bit. I'm just going to eyeball it to 600 as the font weight. That looks about right. And we obviously need to change the text color, text color right here to white. Next up, we've got a simple text block, and we can just go here, grab the text editor. We can just copy all the content of this, Control A and Control C to copy, then click on this one and paste it right in there. And we're going to change the text color to white again, or maybe a little bit gray. And this font is a little bit smaller down here, but I actually like the look of this one better. And one thing we might do is change the font weight. So we could change this to like a 200, and that matches a little bit better. And then now over here on this side, we have the image. And if you look at this column, you can see the image is sort of right aligned to push it to the right side of the column. So we're just going to click here. You can click plus, and it'll take you right to your widget controls, and we'll just grab an image. And here you can click to choose the image. So I'm going to click here and choose this image from my library, insert media. And now we're just going to right align it. And you can see that pushes it more or less to the same spot as it is on the other side. Now you can see our image is bigger up here than it is down here. There's a couple ways you can change this, but the way they've done it, if they click on the edit button here and going to style, they've actually set a max width for the image. And I believe they set it to 65 pixels on the row down here. So now it should match exactly. And one thing to note, because we did set a minimum height on this section, or use the fit to screen on this section, it does automatically align your columns in the middle, or it vertically centers your columns. So that's really nice for creating hero sections like this. And all we need now is this button. So we could just grab a button and insert it here. And you can see it's inserting this other color. It's not matching this color here. And if you're wondering where this style comes from, again, we go back to the site settings. And if you go to buttons under theme style, this is the default background color and hover color. So for example, if you wanted to, you could set the default button color to be like a gray color, set the default hover color to be green. And instead of having a border radius, say we want no border radius on our default button, but that's our default button style. And what's nice about this is we can now drag in a button, and it will exactly match the default style that we just created. Now, if you wanted to match this button quickly to the one down here, we can just right click on this one, click copy, and just paste all the button styles onto this one, copy, paste style. And now the button matches exactly. One more control that you get under sections that you don't get in individual widgets. Under the style tab, you'll find things like the shape divider. And here we could put a shape divider in the bottom, and we could do like clouds, or you could do, I don't know, a tilt. And then we could just match this other color right here to the color in the section below. And I'm not going to get it exactly right by eye, but we could just grab this color, paste that color. And now it looks like it flows from one section to the other. Okay, so that's how you sort of get some of these nifty layouts. And then maybe you would do another shape divider in the bottom of this section. So we could do another shape divider, bottom, another tilt, and we're going to flip it. Let's see. We're going to flip this one so it goes the other direction. Okay, that's kind of a cool effect. And you would probably want to add a little bit of more spacing or padding on the bottom of this element, but you get the idea. Now, you aren't limited to just colors or gradients. You can also do more advanced backgrounds. So in this section, for example, under the Style tab, under the background option, you can make a video background, and you could literally make it like a YouTube video if you want. Or under Classic, we can choose an image background. So I'll just grab this from my library here. And you can see it looks a little bit silly simply because the colors don't seem to match very well, but we can tweak this a little bit. So let's grab a background overlay, and now we can overlay that darker color. And you can change the opacity to make it match what you're going for a little bit better. You can also change the attachment position. So by default, the background image moves as you scroll the page. But if we want to change this to fixed, for example, the background will stay where it is and the page will scroll over the top of it as if this section is sort of a window looking out at the landscape. And it's a nice parallax effect, and it's really easy to create even in the free version of Elementor. Now, aside from spacing, the other column level controls you're going to use a lot to create some unique designs, I would say, would be border, box shadow, and maybe background. So for example, if we wanted to make this column pop a little bit, we could click on this, and under the settings, let's go to Style, and let's go to Border, and we could set box shadow. So we just can make a little bit of blur outside the box. And when you do that, when you add a border or some box shadow, you typically want to put some padding on the column. So we're going to go to Advanced, Padding, and let's say 25 pixels all the way around. And you could maybe add a background color too. So under Style, we go to Background, and we'll just do a classic color. And we could try, let's see, we probably need something darker to go with our text color. So we'll just go here. We're not done quite yet. We could add border radius to maybe round the corners. So we'll just say 25 pixels of border radius at the corners. And we're going to just drag this so it's a little more compressed. So we've completely changed the look and feel of this column. And we can move, and I'm just going to put these styles back to how they were here. So we're just going to paste the style, and we'll put the layout spacing back to the default of 20. Okay, so you can just see that this is one easy way to change the look and feel. All right, and here's a couple tips for some more advanced techniques that you can use as you build more complex layouts. So one is the use of the intersection, and you're only allowed to use one level of these, but basically inside any column, you can create a new intersection. So this lets you create sections within sections, or this lets you create columns within columns. So you can see now that I have multiple columns inside this column, and we could add another one. So now we have 3 columns, and you could, for example, put an image in this. So got an image, and I'll just duplicate this and duplicate it again, and we can just delete the other 2. So now we have this intersection of 3 images within another column. And of course you can move it just like a section. So we'll just move this whole intersection down here below the text. Or we could put it right between the heading and the text here, maybe. And sometimes if you have a glitch like this where you can't move it exactly where you want it, just go to the Navigator again. You can see we've got our intersection here, and we're just going to drag it up above the text editor. So that puts the images right where we want it. And another trick is, I know the Pro version, one of the best features that I use personally is the custom CSS feature that lets you easily embed CSS code just in a specific layout. And you can't do that in the free version, but there is a workaround. And what we can do if we wanted to style an element. So first, let me add a CSS class to this. And this is only for advanced users that like to write their own CSS. But under the advanced tab for this text block, we can add a CSS class. So we'll call it blue text as our CSS class. And now I can use the custom HTML widget. I'll just search for it, HTML, and we'll just drag it in here. It doesn't matter where in your page you put it because you're not going to see it. So we'll just write our code, and we're going to create a style tag, and it will open and close it. And inside this style tag, we can write whatever CSS rules we want, just as if it was a separate style sheet. So I can make my rule blue text, the class blue text, and write our rule. So I can just write a rule like color, aqua, important. So no matter what, if you've set this to blue text as the class, it will make the text color blue. And you can see it's created this, or it's changed this font color automatically. And if we preview it on the front end, you will see that that HTML widget doesn't show up anywhere. It doesn't change the layout of the page at all. It's just allowing you to insert your CSS styles wherever you want. So that's a cool little hack. All right, so let's delete this rule for now. I'm just going to delete this custom HTML. And one of the most powerful features of Elementor is not just the templates, but the fact that you can save your own designs as templates. So you can save this entire page as a template to reuse elsewhere and just go down here under the save options, click save as template and give it a name, and this will save it on your site and you can reuse it or export it, import it onto other sites, or you can just save individual sections as a template. So for example, if I love this section, I can just right click and go save as template. I'm going to call it, I don't know, my hero template, right? It's the greatest hero template I've ever made. And I just want to reuse this on other pages or sites or whatever. For example, if you build websites for clients, you can just create a couple different header layouts and save them as templates, and it will really speed up your development flow. So I've saved my template and I'm just going to go out of here. So now that we've saved this template, we can just go down here and you can see under my templates, here's our saved template. We'll click insert. And it says, do you want to import the document settings? No, I'm going to keep our existing settings. So I don't want to screw up the layout that I have. And you can see it just inserted this exact template. And you can insert it on any page on your site. Just that easy. And then start tweaking it. So when you build a site for yourself and you have one that you're proud of or a layout that you're proud of, I recommend you save it as a template or save the individual sections that you've created as templates, because you find that you can reuse them and adapt these designs on other sites or elsewhere on your existing site. And it really saves a lot of time. So I highly, highly, highly recommend you use this feature. All right, and then finally, one of the most important things you should know about and make sure you don't neglect is the responsive view. And that's because Google really cares about mobile first, or how websites present on a mobile device or smartphone, small screens. And so we're going to go to responsive mode here, and you can just edit your entire page on the small screen view to make sure that it looks good. So you can see right away that we have some issues. The text size is too big. There's some weird spacing issues on the smaller screens, but you can adjust a lot of these settings, such as text size and spacing, specifically for the mobile layout. So if we just click here, we can change the typography, and we're just going to change the font size to be something smaller on this screen size. We'll say the rest of this stuff looks good. We might want to center this image on mobile devices, center this one too. We need a little more padding on the bottom of this section here. So we'll go to advanced, and on the bottom, say we need 40 pixels and 40 pixels on the top. Click update. And you can see that this now looks pretty crazy here. And it's not obvious what's happening if you just go to the advanced section in mobile view, but all the styles by default are carried down from the higher level view. So if we go up to desktop, you'll see that has 200 pixels of right padding. So we just need to undo that on mobile. So we'll just put in 0 pixels of right padding, and let's put in some top and bottom padding. Whoop. Unlink 0 right, 0 left, and top and bottom padding of 10. And with this divider here, it's hard to grab, but we can go to the Navigator, and we have the divider. And under responsive for this divider, we could just say height on mobile, so it doesn't screw up the layout at all. And we probably need some spacing at the top of this one here, so we'll just put some margin at the top of this section. You get the idea. Push it down, and you just keep working your way down the layout, and it really doesn't take that long once you get the hang of it. So we want some spacing between these widgets. So for example, these columns, we'll just go to advanced, and we want some margin bottom on the mobile view. So we'll say 15 pixels of margin below, and then we can just copy. You can just copy and paste the style on this next one, paste style, and you can see it puts a space right there. Super easy, okay? So hopefully this has helped you master the fundamentals of Elementor, but it's not necessarily gonna make you a better designer. But you know what will? Practice. And I really believe that good design is both imitation and adaptation. So go find a web design that you really like, find a page design that you think is beautiful, and try to recreate it with Elementor. And that's exactly what we're gonna be doing in this upcoming tutorial series, where I'm gonna find some beautiful websites and we're gonna rebuild them using just Elementor. So make sure you subscribe, hit that like button. In the meantime, keep on building, and I'll see you in the next one.